I want to thank the members of the media for joining us and for your constant updates and reporting on the condition of the USS The Sullivans and the work that's been done collectively to right the ship that has been leaning to decontaminate the waters around the ship and to save the Sullivans, a critical piece of naval and U.S. military history that we are fortunate to have in our community. Want to just introduce the folks that are here with me. Captain Lexia Littlejohn, the commander of the Buffalo Coast Guard, Paul Marzello, Commissioner William Rinaldo, Fire Commissioner, City of Buffalo, Michael Finn, Commissioner of Public Works for the City of Buffalo, and Don Polito, who has been on scene, like so many of the folks here, every single day during this entire situation, who is from the Department of Public Works. And whenever there is a emergency situation dealing with public works in the City of Buffalo, Don Polito is the person that is on scene. We are very happy to report today that the effort to save the Sullivans is on course and the ship is righted and floating. Captain Littlejohn and Paul Marzello will talk a little bit more about the specific conditions when they speak. We do have a video of the partial sinking and raising of the ship that we would like to show for you at this time. So we will show a time-lapse video of the ship's conditions, and I think Dan will begin it right now. Time lapse moves quick. The emergency response phase is complete, and we have started the maintenance and decontamination phase. Captain Littlejohn in a moment will provide the details. So this will be the last briefing that we will provide to the media for a while, as this critical phase of the process of saving the Sullivans has been completed. The Naval Park is also working on a reopening plan so people can once again come to the park, visit the park, and feel completely safe and secure in doing that. Paul Marzello will give more details on that. As you have seen during this 23 or so days, this park, the Buffalo Naval and Military Park, is very busy. It is very important to the residents of Buffalo and Western New York and beyond. During the issue with the USS The Sullivans, there have been a lot of people coming to the park, and we've been hearing from people that they want to visit the park, they want to support the Naval Park, and so Paul will talk about the plan to be able to accomplish that. I want to recognize the efforts of those involved in the recovery operation. Want to recognize the City of Buffalo Fire Department, the City of Buffalo Department of Public Works, the Buffalo Police Department, Erie County Government and Emergency Services from Erie County. I want to thank Bidco, Miller Environmental, TNT Salvage, company that was brought in from out of town to work with us, that brought a real specialization in these kinds of salvage operations. Of course, none of this, what we've been able to accomplish, would have been possible without the United States Coast Guard. I want to thank Captain Littlejohn and all of the members of the Coast Guard for your dedication, for your hard work, for your partnership, and your guidance in this operation. And then, of course, last but by no means least, Paul Marzello, the President and CEO, and the members of the board and staff of the Buffalo and Erie County Naval and Military Park for their stewardship of the park, for their care, their concern. Many of them were here around the clock. Paul's eyes are still a little bloodshot because he has been oftentimes 24/7 on this scene. He has lived, ate, and breathed this effort to save the Sullivans. So Paul, I want to thank you for your incredible work on this, and I want to thank everyone who has contributed to saving the ship, to righting the ship, and making sure that we preserve this critical piece of U.S. naval history. Now it is my pleasure to introduce someone who has become a friend, someone who has been a real constant in this effort, Captain Lexia Littlejohn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Captain.
Good afternoon. So the Sullivans has been substantially righted. Right now the list varies between 0.1 and about 3 degrees, which is a significant difference from before. At worst it was about 20 degrees. Dewatering is 95% complete. We've removed over 585,000 gallons of water from the vessel in total. About 2,000 gallons of additional oily water mixed was moved from the vessel, and that brings the total removed from the vessel to 9,510 gallons of oily water mix. 9,000 gallons of, or I'm sorry, 9 cubic yards of oil-soaked solids have been removed. A total of 53 holes were plugged. There were some additional concern areas that were patched with a marine-grade epoxy. Divers have worked through the weekend to do that. We have divers in the water now. They're continuing assessments inside the vessel and outside the vessel to make sure that all of those temporary repairs that were put into place are holding, and those appear to be holding at this point. So as the mayor mentioned, at this point, the response has moved out of the emergency response phase. Now we're into decontamination and potentially permanent repairs phase. I'll let Mr. Marcello speak to that. The Coast Guard is going to continue working with the Naval Park, City of Buffalo, New York DEC to ensure that the threat from the vessel is mitigated. There is still oil on board the vessel, and we want to make sure that threat is successfully mitigated. I do want to let you know that there was an additional release on May 3rd, and there was an additional release on May 4th of oil from the vessel, a small amount that was discharged into containment around the vessel, and we want to make sure that that doesn't happen again. So that's why we're going to continue working with the city, we're going to continue working with the Naval Park to make sure that that threat is mitigated. So as I said, future plans are to look at decontamination of the vessel, and I will now turn it over to Mr. Marzello.
Thank you, Captain Littlejohn. And I just want to take the first few minutes to obviously thank the entire representation that is standing to my right and left for the incredible work as a team that we have done to right this ship. It's been 21, 22 days, I'm kind of losing track, but Hasn't been an easy task, but it's been one that, through a unified effort, has been an amazing experience. And with the Coast Guard's lead, they have directed us in a thoughtful and methodical way to take every precautionary measure and to make sure we do this right. I also want to say from our standpoint at the Naval Park that we are working very hard to try and put a reopening plan together. I know people are asking, when are we going to be able to visit the park again? Tentatively speaking, we're focused in on Memorial Day weekend. That normally would be a very popular weekend for us. We had several events planned, and we also want to make sure that the events that are planned, we can carry on, because I think that with the crowds that we are expecting on Memorial Day weekend, we want to make sure that they're going to be safe as well. The fencing that goes around the park right now, we are looking to begin to contract that into areas that we don't need it. And as we do that, there'll be more access to you to get closer to the ships and see what is actually going on, because there is a workforce still in progress. Our staff has conducted an initial survey of the interior compartments of the ship that were previously submerged, and our curator is working very closely with some other professionals to make sure that we have access and can evaluate those artifacts, and that will be done in the coming weeks ahead. We are certainly consulting with a number of experts on the recovery and the restoration of those artifacts, which we think is an important part of our mission. Our mission being to honor, educate, inspire, and preserve. And right now we're focused on the preservation aspects of that mission. Again, I want to thank everyone for their cooperation, for their support, and hopefully that you'll see in the next coming weeks that we can continue with the decontamination phase and the repair phase, so that you'll see activity around the park, you'll see activity in the water, you'll see activity inside the ships, and when we do open, unfortunately you will not be allowed inside the Sullivan. You'll be able to walk on the deck area, but you won't be able to access the interior. We have work to do there. I wish I could tell you how long that's going to take. It's been estimated anywhere from 2 weeks to 8 weeks, but those are just estimations, and I'll know much better once we get in and decide to go compartment by compartment and make that evaluation. So with that, thank you again, and I'll turn it back to the mayor.
I want to thank Paul Marzello again and Captain Lexia Littlejohn. Made a round of thank yous. Also want to recognize United States Senator Chuck Schumer for his substantial commitments to assisting with the financial resources that will be needed as part of this operation. This has been a very expensive operation, as I've indicated before, and the commitment of the Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is critically important to what we have been able to do and what we will do going forward into the future. Also want to thank Congressman Brian Higgins, who has previously provided resources for the Naval Park and is committed to providing resources in the future. So I want to thank them. Also want to thank the Governor of the State of New York, Governor Kathy Hochul, for her support during this period of time, and of course the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation that has been part of the team working to right the ship and address environmental issues. With that, we will conclude our formal comments and open up to questions that the media might have for anyone here in the front of the room.
Paul, could you, I'm sorry. Oh, go ahead, sorry.
So you've said in the past this is very expensive. How expensive are we talking?
I don't have a complete itemized estimate at this point, but we suspect it will be in the millions of dollars. So, you know, that's the kind of range that we are looking at.
And how will that get paid for? Is that out of tax dollars? Is there some sort of rainy day fund that the city of Buffalo has? Where's that coming from?
Well, we are going to look to federal and state government, particularly federal government, for support in addressing the needs of what we've done, what we will do. It is going to be expensive. The city does have a rainy day fund. It's not for these purposes, but we are thankful for the commitments that we have received at the federal level, and are very hopeful that the federal level of government will assist in the complete recovery effort, remediation effort, and full stabilization of USS The Sullivans.
Mr. Mayor, did the state, you had mentioned the state of New York might, about a week or so ago, might also, you said you've spoken with the highest levels. Did the state indicate if they will be able to help at all with some of those costs as well?
I think we'll have clearer and better answers to those questions once we do a complete itemization of the costs. Right now, that is not fully available. When it is available, we absolutely will be in touch with federal officials and state officials, and we'll try to get the cost of this fully reimbursed, fully paid for.
Are the repairs considered temporary or permanent?
Captain Littlejohn or Paul?
So the repairs that are in place right now are temporary. So we're talking about wooden plugs that have been put into the holes. We're talking about marine grade epoxy that hasn't necessarily been cured, but is working for now to keep the vessel righted and stable. There will need to be permanent repairs completed at a later date.
And so how long would these temporary repairs last, roughly?
I don't have a good estimate on that, but we're monitoring that. That's why we have folks inside the vessel. That's why we're conducting dive surveys outside the vessel. So we're going to need to continually monitor it.
Is there a timeline for a permanent solution? I know a lot of residents are asking us about that.
I'm going to turn that over to Mr. Marzello.
So that's one of the most frequent questions we have is what does permanent mean, right? So as soon as we get beyond this stage is when we sit down and have that chat. And that chat will come together with some estimates about what the various costs for those various proposals will be. There's been lots of ideas. I mean, everyone's an expert on this as I get calls every morning. But at the same time, there are a very few amount of solutions that make sense. We're talking about an 80-year-old ship that was meant to last about 25 years. So when you talk about permanence, how permanent is permanence? And with that, I think everything will have a cost attached to it, and that'll be part of that discussion.
Paul, are you able to say, I don't know how far along you are on the investigation, so the initial problem of what caused the ship to take off water. Have you been able to determine if there was an actual gash in the hull, something that caused the bulk of this water to come in?
Well, certainly to date, and it's an ongoing process because we have already plugged, as I'm looking at the charts over there, 52 or 53 holes. Some of them rather insignificant, size of a dime, some up to 2.5, 3 inches. But the most significant finding we've had so far is on the starboard side, just forward of midship, about 7.5 feet up from the keel, was a strip of holes, gashes, that let in a considerable amount of water as shown on the video. Is that the ultimate reason? I'll leave that to the investigators, but to date, that's what we have found.
And did the ship suffer any damage when it did go down into the settlement, settle down on the bottom of the stern, or is that felt to be not that significant?
Undetermined. I mean, did it suffer any damage structurally? Maybe that might be part of the cause of the openings for what we are seeing. Again, that's an investigative kind of comment that we'll be looking at, but I can't see. There are certainly some structures on the decking that looked like they were bent because of the list and where she was pushed onto the shore, but nothing overly significant and nothing that we can't correct.
And one last question, and you said this is stuff to be discussed for the future. Is dry docking down to Erie, Pennsylvania, down there for the dry dock they have down there, is that a feasibility, or still have to assess the structural integrity of the hull and where things are.
Well, I can tell you this, it was not a possibility until we had the hull repaired. And that's why we were under contract with Bidco. That's why they started the job last summer. They were doing a good job. They were to return this spring to continue their good work. Upon completion of that, I think we can all agree that she would have been seaworthy, if you want to use the term, enough to get her to dry dock. Up until that point, the answer would be unquestionably no.
So that's a possibility, maybe.
Absolutely.
Captain Littlejohn, you see this time lapse, and I'm sure you sending your divers and your crews in every day for the past 22 days, or not, almost every day. What has that daily progress been like? And that moment, we saw the picture of you guys the moment your ship was finally righted. What was that moment like, and what has this journey been like?
It was pretty interesting to see the plan that was developed by TNT. They had a reactionary model where you could actually put water into different compartments, take water out of different compartments, see what was going to happen when we did that. And so it was really nice to see it all come together as planned. So it was exciting.
Paul, I'm sorry, one more question. You and I have talked about legacy and history of this ship and your emotions through this process. What is it like for you 3 Thursdays ago or 4 Thursdays ago when we were all talking to you and it was a moment of, okay, failure's not an option, failure's not an option, but now today that phrase has become a reality.
Yes. It's tough to look back, to be honest with you. You know, I'm looking at this video, and the first half of that movie is disheartening, and the second half is jubilation. So, has it gotten to me? Yeah.
Is there a risk of this happening again?
We certainly hope not. We've got a team of experts that are here to make sure that it doesn't.
All right, anyone else? We good?
Thank you, everyone. We're gonna take a walk outside with Paul and Captain Littlejohn and take a look at the ship.